AMD is crushing it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the AMD analysis. StockerFinance. I am your host, David Short. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at StockerFinance, patreon.com/StockerFinance to support the channel. AMD is currently trading at $76.40 a share. It has a market cap of around $89.7 billion with a PE ratio of over 100, which seems incredibly high, but for this type of hot stock, that's, tons of retail investors are throwing money at it, etc. It's a very popular company in the investing communities. I'm not too surprised it's trading that high. And if you look at other hot stocks such as Spotify, Tesla, Snapchat, even other semiconductor stocks such as Nvidia, they're trading incredibly high as well. So compared to those companies, that's not too big of a deal or something to be worried about. The interesting thing, this company is actually down from its 52-week high of $94.28 now to $76.40, down 3% today, mostly because they confirmed the Xilinx, and I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly, Xilinx acquisition deal. It's going to cost about $35 billion. And the reason they're trending down right now is because so many investors and a lot of analysts thought this acquisition was way too overpriced. They're paying way too much of a premium. They're paying in terms of stock. So it's going to be $35 billion is the total price of this acquisition. Definitely not cheap by any means for this company, paying a big premium. But I do believe this is going to boost the company up. I am actually bullish on this acquisition and AMD as a whole. And let's go ahead and just get into some numbers, and then we'll talk about the acquisition a little more. First off, let's look at their profit and loss statement here for the Q3, their Q3 earnings report, which was very recently, just a couple of days ago. Revenue increased, this is incredible, up 45% to $2.8 billion, up 45% quarter over quarter, year over year up 56%. Gross profit up 58% year over year to $1.23 billion, up 45% quarter over quarter. We go to operating expenses as well. They're up significantly, but they're not up as fast as revenue and gross profit are growing. You see 45% increases quarter over quarter for revenue and gross profit, but only 16% in operating expenses increasing, which are only at $781 million. That's a good sign for this fast and growing company. On top of that, we have an operating income up 160% quarter over quarter and up 141% year over year, which is pretty incredible. A net income up 148% quarter over quarter, 225% year over year. Those are incredible results here. Earnings per share up 191% to 32 cents per share from 11 cents in Q3 2019. Quarter over quarter up 146%. So yeah, profitability more than doubled year over year and quarter over quarter. That is incredible results there. If we move on here, and I'm just kind of taking this from an article, I'm going to be referencing a few articles in this video. This is kind of a little summary of their enterprise, embedded and semi-custom segment, etc. So revenue of $1.13 billion, up 116%. Operating income $141 million, up $80 million year over year, and $108 million quarter over quarter. Primarily driven, as we saw, by higher revenue. And then this is the important thing that I really wanted to highlight here: the strategic news and highlights. So record quarterly service processor revenue, sales more than doubled year over year, driven by cloud and enterprise adoption. On track to begin shipments of next generation Milan server processors to cloud and select HPC customers in Q4 20, with OEM available in Q1 21. Ramped production and shipments of next generation game console SoCs to support the November launches of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and Series S consoles. Expect semi-custom shipments and revenue to increase quarter over quarter in Q4 20 based on strong demand. Now, this is a perfect time for AMD. Number one, I think the PlayStation and the Xbox, I think the PlayStation will outsell the Xbox overall, but I think both are going to have incredible sales this year simply because people are so bored at home right now. They're still afraid of the pandemic going on. People are in lockdown still in some places as well. And so because of that, you're dealing with, people need to take their time. They need to play more video games. They're going to go purchase the PlayStation, more Xbox. The more of those that they purchase, that means AMD has to create more chips for those products. On top of that, people are building computers. Companies are going more and more online, which means they're going to need more work computers, more computing power, etc. This is all going to support the strong demand for AMD going into 2021, which is going to be awesome for them, and in Q4 2020 as well. Now let's move on here, and this is when I'm going to start talking about the acquisition. So let's first start with the acquisition, and this is an article that I'm referencing. I will link it below. This is the big news of the day. Xilinx, almost mispronounced it there. Xilinx shareholders will receive 1.7234 shares of AMD common stock for each share of Xilinx common stock they hold at the closing of the transaction. Based on this ratio, this deal equals about $143 per share of Xilinx. Once the deal closes, current AMD stockholders will own about 74% of the combined company on a fully diluted basis, while Xilinx stockholders will own roughly 26%. The deal is expected to be finalized by the end of the next year, and it will result in a sharp rise in AMD's share count as seen in the chart below. In the chart below, I didn't actually throw it on this slide or this video, but it was a very significant increase as you read through the numbers here. So that's a little summary of how this deal is going down that I thought was interesting, and we'll go ahead and talk about some highlights of this deal. So the other good part of this deal is that it will really improve AMD's overall results, as I kind of briefly mentioned. Xilinx is currently producing more than $3 billion in annual revenue, along with hundreds of millions in profit and roughly $1 billion a year in free cash flow. The combined company is expected to achieve operational efficiencies of approximately $300 million within 18 months of closing the transaction. The slide below shows the long-term expected financial model. So revenue growth 20%, increased market share, gross margin greater than 50%, leading to richer product mixes. Or because of richer product mixes, operating expenses 26 to 27% of revenue with targeted investment, operating margin mid-20s, and we'll see the chart here with some of these results in more detail from the earnings report. So growing profitability, FCF margin 15% or greater, a significant cash generation. Now let's go ahead and look at their quarterly earnings results as well as some numbers here. I'm using hypercharts.co. Definitely check the website out. It's from the YouTuber Hyperchange. Gally over there, shout out to him. Great guy. Have not met him, but he makes some great videos. So definitely check that out. Let's move on here to the numbers. You can see that Q3 was awesome. I mean, just record numbers there. You have revenue soaring to nearly $3 billion, gross profit growing. You also have operating income. So all great results across the board. Net income just soared to nearly $400 million, a massive increase from Q2 2020 or ever before. I mean, that's really nice to see. On top of that, you can see here that we have sustained profitability. In 2016, they weren't experiencing profitability, which is pretty crazy to think of now that we've been, 4 years of just profitability, or nearly, I'd say 3 years of sustained profitability, which is a great thing for AMD, obviously. But these quarter results really just blew it out of the park, and I think they're going to continue to do better and better going into 2021 with this merger, which will help their bottom line and the results. And we can see here their margins. Now, their margins are expected to increase significantly with this because Xilinx's margins are significantly better than that of AMD's. Because their margins are better, the combined margins, you can kind of average it out almost in a way. And that will increase the bottom line margin, especially the profit and operating margins for AMD. So they're expecting gross margin to go up to about 50%. As you saw that by that chart earlier, we're seeing operating margin increase to the mid-20s, so probably like 25%. Profit margin will most likely increase as well. Oh, sorry about that, along with operating margin to about 20 to 25%. I actually think it'll increase more than that as well, as strong demand comes in, as they figure out how to lower some of their operating expenses. Again, we're seeing revenue grow significantly faster, up 45% year over year, compared to operating expenses, which are only up, if we can go all the way back to that slide here, only up 16% or only up 32% year over year. So revenue 56% year over year, operating expenses up 32%, quarter over quarter revenue up 45%, operating expenses only up 16%. That's a great sign for AMD that their revenue is growing significantly faster than their operating expenses are, especially for this growing company. And you can tell there's definitely a jump in operating expenses this quarter because of development costs. There's going to be some other things going on. I'm sure their operating expenses will soar a little bit as this merger kind of goes down, as the deal takes place. There's going to be a lot of expensive lawyer fees going on, a lot of different employees to hiring, restructuring, etc. That'll definitely cost them some money and increase their operating expenses. But overall, research and development is the majority of their operating expenses, which for a growing company to be competitive in the semiconductor industry, you have to spend a lot of money on research and development. So they're spending, nearly a little over $500 million in Q3 2020, which that's a ton of money. But for this type of company, that's exactly what you want to see. And they're proving that it's worth it. They're innovating. They're competing significantly. They're outcompeting Intel significantly. And they're doing a pretty good job against NVIDIA now as well. And I think this acquisition will also help them with that. We see growth here. So, over 50% revenue growth, operating expenses grew significantly less fast. We have cash. I'd like to see AMD have more cash on hand than $1.2 billion for its current valuation of nearly $100 billion, but it's not horrible. Q2 2020 results, they had almost $1.8 billion. I would like for their cash reserves to get about to that level, especially with this deal going down. If something comes up that's crazy, I would like them to have just a nice cushion to fall back on. And then, that's not to say that, $1.2 billion or $1.25 billion is not a nice cushion. It is. But I would just like a little more cash for AMD overall, just to show that they're saving money, putting it aside, etc. You can disagree with me on that, whatever it might be. We already looked at that. Now, here we go. This is actually Lisa Su. So this is quoting directly from her in the earnings calls, the transcript. And I thought this part of it was really interesting about the Xilinx acquisition specifically. So she said, to quote, "As the industry's #1 provider of FPGAs and adaptive SoCs, they are a market leader. Xilinx is successfully executing multi-generation hardware and software roadmaps to extend that leadership. Xilinx is a technology leader. Beyond their core innovation in FPGAs and associated software design environments, they have industry-leading capabilities in SoC design, SerDes, and high-speed I/O, mixed-signal RF, advanced 2.5 and 3D silicone integration and packaging, as well as a targeted software stacks for key verticals. Xilinx has also built deep strategic partnerships across a diverse set of growing markets. In 5G communications, data center, automotive, industrial, aerospace, and defense, Xilinx has established themselves as a strategic technology partner to a broad set of industry leaders. Lastly, Xilinx is a very strong business model characterized by long product life cycles, with the best-in-class gross margin profile and significant free cash flow generation. As we bring AMD and Xilinx together, there are considerable product, technology, market, and financial benefits. AMD will offer the strongest portfolio of high-performance and adaptive computing products in the industry, spanning leadership CPUs, GPUs, FPGAs, and adaptive SoCs. This will enable us to take a leadership position, accelerating a diverse set of emerging workloads. Now, one thing I also want to compare is the CEOs. Leadership in a company is incredibly important. You may be saying, okay, you're comparing your CEOs. Why are you showing me this chart right here? And if we look at the Xilinx CEO, he's done a really good job. He became the CEO in 2018. And so from 2018 to currently, he grew the company and the company's stock by 60%, or nearly 60%, 57.17% to be more exact. If we go ahead and look at Advanced Micro Devices, AMD's CEO, Lisa Su, she's been on the company and she really turned the company around since 2014 with just incredible results, as you can see by this chart. But going on the same time frame of 2018 to 2020, I know it's kind of a rough timeline there, not exact. She grew the company of AMD, its stock, by more than 600%, which is absolutely incredible. And then you have Intel. Now, Intel's on a completely different playing field. Their stock decreased from 2018 to 2020 by 10 or nearly 10%. And I know the dates are a little off here. For example, this is March 23rd. This is March 2nd. I tried to be exact with Google Charts, but I really got to start using a different charting system here than Google. It's just really easy to use is all. So that just shows. And if we go to NVIDIA as well, they grew by 116%, significantly less than that of AMD. But it shows that both the CEOs of Xilinx and AMD, Lisa Su, are doing incredibly well, and I think they're going to work very well together. Lisa Su was quoting, or she was talking about it during the earnings call, how she really likes the guy. They're going to work together. I think it's going to work really well, etc. So I'm really excited that the leadership for both of these companies is really strong. Anyways, thanks for watching. Let me know your opinion on AMD, this deal. Do you think it's way too expensive? Do you think AMD is way too overvalued right now? What is your opinion? Let me know in the comments below. I love responding to criticism, to just good comments, whatever it might be, support. I love all the different types of comments. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Check out these videos. Follow me on Twitter at StockerFinance. I'm sorry I'm talking so fast today. I drank way too much coffee this morning. Patreon.com/StockerFinance if you want to help support this channel. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.